Burnley! Scott Arfield! He's been threatening that recently, and all the Burnley players run to the Darwin end.
Burnley win the next ball. Here's Rory now. On the outside, decent.
Barnes! He got it! Ashley Barnes with it! What a cross from Rory! And there was Ashley Barnes! And Burnley leading the derby.
Knocks it quickly, finds Benson in space at the byline. Can Burnley get a goal here? Back for Brownell, saved by the keeper.
Burnley won it to the end. That is magnificent. They deserve that.
On it by Paul Teller, on for a hat trick.
He's got it. Hat-trick for Nathan Teller. Oh, he's on fire at the minute. 3-0 Burnley. It's Nathan Teller's day.
And Burnley are 3 up here. Fantastic derby. Here's Benson, can he go on the outside? Comes inside, have a shot.
Oh, the goal. Manuel Benson once more. That is top class. Burnley have done it. Fantastic. Clarence deserve the championship title. They've been the best side throughout the campaign. Burnley have won the second tier. What a fantastic achievement. The players have been magnificent.
Good evening and welcome to the full-time show. As you can see, I am not Joe Redmond. Joe Redmond has decided to set the night off. He only does the big premium games now. City at home, Chelsea, he only does the big ones. So you've got Turfcast B team captain Nathan Rogers with you. I am also joined by Sam from Claret's Roundup.
Hello, evening.
And I'm also joined by Neil from North East Claret now. Is that what it is now?
Yes, that's it, because I thought I had to get, that's the one, I had to get Claret in there somehow, and that's the best I could come up with.
I like it. I want to say
Thanks,
thank you
man.
for everyone joining us already on this Bank Holiday Sunday. I know you could be out having a few beers in the pub, but you're going to listen to us lament over quite a disappointing day at Turf Moor, I'll be honest with you. I went into this game with a bit of optimism. I think that we were going to see a performance that probably set us off for the season, I think, and it wasn't necessarily the performance that we wanted, really. So 3-1 defeat at home. Pretty bad start to the game, Sam.
Yeah, I mean, trying really hard to think of some genuine positives, not from individual performances, but from the performance as a whole. I think we looked so disjointed today. I think we just looked like going forward, there was no real intent to try and win the game at any point. In my opinion, I think we had a little spell kind of after, in the second half, right at the start, where I thought, this is what we want to see more, like closing down, playing into the channels, feeding the ball. But eventually it all kind of kept going back to the same thing, kind of like an over-the-top ball, to Lyle Foster, who was up against two very good centre-halves, to be fair. And then, balls out to the wing that left. But we don't play with a focal point in the box. So getting the ball out wide, it almost isolates our wingers to cross the ball to no one.
Yeah.
They were clinical, which is what they are. They're a clinical side, and this is what Premier League teams do to you. They get minimal chances in the game and they'll score. But really disappointed. I really thought this was a game that we could really kick on and try and, get some points, and we can really see where we're at, because you don't see that against City. And I just feel like we dropped the ball a little bit today. And I think that's the side of it that's disappointing, is I don't feel like we've still seen how we can really perform in the Premier League yet.
Yeah, I think my fault going into the game was I sort of naively sort of slept on how good Villa actually have got over the summer. I sort of thought... last season, if we compared our team this season to Villa's team last season, I'd have thought they were still better, but they were very, very much better today, and they had some very good players. Like that Diaby was just unplayable for us today. He ran us ragged everywhere. Watkins were decent. They just had quality all over the pitch. And I think I slept on how good Villa actually are. So probably 3-1 is probably the right scoreline for the performance of the day. So Neil, you weren't at Turf Moor today, so give us your views as it looked on TV. How did it look? How did we come across on TV?
Probably as you guys have summed it up. For me, I've said it in our chat as well. That performance was the one that I was expecting against City, and the City performance was the one that I thought would be today, and that we would see that progression, because against City we were very good. We had our game plan, we closed them down, and today it looked. You don't want to be too harsh because it's game 2, but it looked like we'd sort of reverted. What's the word I'm looking for? Reverted back a little bit. Regressed. That was it. Regressed a little bit. That's what I thought it would be against City, and I thought City's would be today. Midfield, I thought, was overrun far too easily, and the defence looked a little bit disorganised, which is disappointing because, especially with Kompany and his background, and he's one of the best centre-halves in the Premier League, you'd think our defence will always be on it. But it's game 2. And I'm sure we'll get into it. It's half a new team out there, because half of that starting lineup isn't the same team that got us up, and there needs to be that bedding in process. And because we're effectively 2 weeks behind everybody else, I thought that showed a little bit. But I'm like you, I sat on Villa a bit. I think in our Premier League thing, I think I probably should have put them a bit high up in my prediction, because they're a very, very good team.
I've put them quite sort of like almost 10th and in and around that area sort of thing, and I'm sort of regretting that now, because I think they've got a decent squad with decent players to come off the bench. There was that was it Italian lad that came on and just started running as ragged for like the last 20 minutes. What was he called?
That was just unfair.
They're a well-oiled. Zaniola. Is it Zaniola? Yeah,
that's the one. Yeah.
They're a well-oiled machine, and you can tell they've played together, which I think is part of our problem.
Yeah, Emery is not a chump either, is he? He's a top quality manager, and I sort of expected us to sort of perform a little bit better than we did, but like you just said, Neil, it's still early doors. They were into their 4th game of the season. That was their 4th game. This is our 2nd game of the season. We're sort of.
It showed.
It showed. It showed. I think we lacked a bit of. Even though we played 3 friendlies, it's that match day sharpness in it that you cannot recreate. You can get your fitness in, you can get your tactics in. It's just that when you've got a packed house, you've got cameras there. It's just that little bit different. It's one of them. I'm not going to get too carried away. It's a second sort of result of the season, really. So I don't want to bag the players too much, but I still am quite disappointed. That opening 20 minutes was a bit of a. Just a bit of a disaster, really. We were just all over the place. That I don't want to dive in on the new lad Delcroix too much because he's only just landed and he's only just stepped in. But I thought he had an absolute stinker in the first 20 minutes. He just looked like a cat, like a deer caught in headlights, to be honest. And he just gave Matty Cash the run of that that quarter of the pitch that he had. It proved
it's probably
what you got.
It's probably a little bit harsh of Vinny to throw him in, to be honest, because he's only been in the building 5 minutes, hasn't he? So I know we're short on options there, and I'm sure we'll get into that. But maybe just start Taylor, and if it's not working, bring him on. But I thought it was probably a bit harsh of Vinny to throw him in this early. But we haven't got much option there, have we?
No. Give us your thoughts on the Delcroix's debut, then, Sam.
I didn't think it was too bad. I think the starts of the game, he let Matty Cash get the better of him in the first 20 minutes. That first goal, I actually put down, in my opinion, more down to terrible concentration from Connor Roberts and can't remember who played Dara O'Shea, I think it was, who was the right centre half at the time. That's such a simple ball. It's such a simple ball over the top. It's literally played into feet, flick it over the top. If you're not on the ball to that, the ball just goes straight over the top. Ollie Watkins wants to play in behind all the time. He likes to play through the channels and he likes to play over the top. Kompany will know that, and Kompany will have said that. For them to just switch off like that and let Ollie Watkins, who is probably one of the best bagsmen, one of the better bagsmen in the league, get goal side of you, taking it towards goal. Trafford in that situation as well cannot get off lightly with that. He literally went to ground instantly. So that just gave Ollie Watkins the ability to go, well, I'm a clever striker. I can get ball over the top of you. So if you've gone to ground, I'm not an idiot. I can get ball over the top. And Matty Cash is there in behind. That's where Delcroix's not completely switched onto it. I think passing wise and getting the ball into feet and playing it to Koleosho, I really, really, really think that he... I really think he was good with that. I think he was good with the ball to feet. I think he was good at receiving the ball. And I agree with you guys. I mean, he's a centre half, and he's got the build of a centre half. He's not a left back. He didn't want to run with the ball. He didn't want the ball in his stride. He just wanted to get the ball and play it. And you could see that he's a centre back playing left back. My argument there is Charlie Taylor surely has to be an option at left back. He just has to be. You don't want to be going into the same type of situation. I know we don't bash the old regime because it worked and everything, but it's what Dyche did with Brownhill and Hendrick. They're centre midfielders. Don't play them at right mid. He's a centre half. Don't play him left back. It's some things in football are really difficult, and you can dissect things and go really. Some of them are so simple. He's a centre back playing left back. You've got a left back not even in lineup. Come on, just put 2 and 2 together and get him in team.
Yeah. You'd sort of rather have. You sort of rather have like an underperforming left back in left back position than a centre half trying to overperform in left back. He's
Because if a centre half in left back doesn't perform, that's what you go to. It's a centre half in left back. If a left back doesn't perform, you're saying you've not performed or you got the wrong side of your man. It's easier to dissect individual errors. If you just put someone just randomly in a position and go do a job. You know, especially he's been in building 2 days. Come in, we'll sign you for £1 million, which in the Premier League is not a lot of money.
No.
Come in. Oh, by the way, you're a centre half. You're playing left back against Aston Villa, a team that are in Europa League. It just doesn't.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that I question today tactically. Everything else, his game plan and everything, it clearly just wasn't executed by the players. But that was the only decision where I was like, surely there's a better option who's not in the team.
Yeah.
Could play left back rather than just chucking a centre half there and saying, "Oh, I hope it does all right."
Yeah. Well, so hopefully that's sort of gets nipped in the bud there, and he's sort of got that out of his system, and he can learn from it. And Vinny can take stuff from that game, from his performance. But I want to move on to Koleosho. I went into this game thinking he's going to have another belting game again, and this, that, and the other. But I felt he was quite disappointing today. I thought he sort of got caught on the ball quite a lot. He didn't know what to do with the ball quite a lot. Like I say, this isn't going to be an hour of us laying into players that play badly. I just want to highlight that, sometimes, you've got to look at some players and just question like how they are playing. But like Koleosho, I think he looked a bit lost today. I didn't really see what he was trying to do half of the time. What do you think, Neil, on Koleosho's performance?
Yeah, same as you, really. I think I do maintain that we've got a good player there, and I think as the season goes on, he'll grow into it a little bit. But I think it's one. I think Villa they knew how to handle him. Whatever he was trying to do, and whatever the game plan Vinny put up, I thought Villa matched it very well. And I think he was just a victim of Villa just being very good at what they do, and nullifying it essentially. But he'll grow into it this season. But we've got a good player. It's just for me, it mirrors last season. We've just got to let them gel, and we'll see it as we go on.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll talk about sort of the season progressing later on. But yeah, like I said, some people are going off in the comments saying, he's only 18. Like I say, I appreciate that he's a young lad, and like I say, I'm not going to bag him. I'm not going to sit there, but I want to make sure that the lads that go out there perform for us, regardless of the tactics. And I don't want to let anybody get away with having a crap game and not getting mentioned just because they're a young lad learning the system. I just thought he got caught. He just got lost in the game today. I thought he had experienced players around him like McGinn and Luca Dini, and it showed, his age showed, and is that an area of concern going forward in these games that we probably, we should be maybe getting a point in, or what, are we going to struggle with these players that haven't got the experience yet? Is it going to take too long for them to bed in? Another newish player that we want to have a quick discussion about is Sander Berg. I personally thought he was all over the shop today. He didn't, he kept. Obviously, he's been told to go and get in front of the defensive line, get behind the defensive line, and break the lines. But when he did, he just looked like he was an ocean liner trying to turn in a car park. He just kept getting lost. We kept leaving Cullen on his own. It was just a frustrating watch today. And I think a lot of lads just didn't do what they needed to do. I think today, and I think Sander Berg was one of them. What do you think on that, Sam?
I think we've seen what Sander Berg can bring in the Premier League with his time at Sheffield United. He is a good player, but like you said, Nathan, one of the things in doing a channel like this and having the ability to speak your opinion is, if we don't talk about players' performances in an individual game, you've got nothing to talk about. Like, you know, you're not talking about the player. You're not even talking about you're not talking about the person. You're not talking about his character. You're just talking about an individual performance in 90 minutes. And in that game, like you say, Koleosho didn't have a fantastic performance. Sander Berge lost the ball about 3 or 4 times in first half. That first half was one of the poorest halves of football I've ever seen Burnley play. I thought we had no creativity whatsoever. I think we struggled to get on the ball in any situation. And I don't think Sander Berge helped in any way in that. We brought him in to be that midfield general. We've spoken about it. And again, we have to keep putting this disclaimer in. It's game 2. Like, these players will progress and will get better and will learn the system. But in this individual moment, he didn't help the performance at all. He was losing the ball in midfield. He was turning on the ball. He was dwelling on the ball. When he was receiving the ball, he wasn't moving to the ball. And that's one of the simplest things in football is if the ball's coming to you, don't just sit and wait for the ball. You have to go and actually try and claim the ball yourself and put your big 6'2", 6'3" frame around the ball and body people. I think his performance today kind of outlined where we were today, especially in that first half. Like, we showed no attacking creativity whatsoever. So I'm not surprised that Koleosho didn't get a fair whack at things, because we didn't get the ball forward at all. When we did get the ball down the line, who's he playing it to? Because if he plays it back and a fullback's floating ball into, who's it going to? Because Benson's not running in behind. Lyle Foster's not a striker that wants to be up in the air trying to win an header. So we're a team that likes to play it quick and get to the byline. There was none of that today. There was no quick passes. We didn't have the ball around their 18-yard box for the entire first half. We just couldn't get anywhere near them. So it's no surprise that players like Sander Berge and Koleosho couldn't get anything out of the game, because they do have quality as well.
I thought today the game would have been better for Brownhill to play over Sander Berge, to be honest, because if Sander Berge's role was to break them lines and get in behind the defence that he kept doing a lot of the time, you know, I found him with like the back to goal in like the corner of the final third, like looking to play. You know, I feel like that would have been more suited for Brownhill, and the fact that he didn't even come on today I did find quite strange. I thought that game was made for. I thought the changes at half time should have been Berg for Brownhill and Benson for Goodmanson, which one of them happened, and I thought that would have changed the dynamic a bit more. It would have allowed, if you give Brownhill that freer role, let Cullen do all the hard work, and you've got 3 centre halves effectively on the pitch, even though one's sort of playing, you know, like Alderkeel ended up playing as one of the wing backs, didn't he, at one point, but you've still got 3 centre halves. One can step into that midfield and be that defensive midfield too when we were attacking. And I thought Brownhill would have had a bit more joy going forward. But I am a bit concerned as to why we're not playing our experienced players, really. You know, players that have played for the club for a bit. And, you know, I know Jay came on and Goodmanson came on. But I think when you've got players like Jack Cork and Brownhill sat there, I think, you know, we probably should utilise them a little bit more. Not just exclude them and go, right, no, this is the new guard. Now we're going to do this way. I think you still got to, you know, have a nod to, you know, the older experienced heads, because, you know, Brownhill can still offer something, definitely, at this team. In this team, I think he can flourish in this team, let alone just be a part of it. I think he can be an absolute key member if he plays in a bit more of a advanced position. So yeah, I thought that was a bit disappointing not to see him come on, to be honest. But yeah, like you said, it was just one of them days at the office, wasn't it? We had the ball for minutes and minutes at a time, just passing. We're not doing anything with it. Like, I've not really looked at the stats, to be honest with you, because I don't really need to, because I know we probably had a good chunk of the ball, and I know we probably had a good chunk of passes, and we just kept getting into the final third and then just going, oh, nothing's on. Right, we'll just play it back, and it's, you know, we're not going to score anything.
I think I completely agree with that, though, because that was one of my biggest gripes with the performance. Like, I went to I didn't manage to get to loads of games last season, which is an absolute horror show considering we had one of the best seasons of his entire life. I went to Hull at home and Stoke at home, and they were 2 of the games while we were clicking. And in those games, we did exactly the same. It was always balls across the box, and we were keeping the ball constantly and never really showing any cutting edge. And I think the performance showed that. Like, I don't think they were particularly, and it's going to sound really stupid, but I don't think they were particularly brilliant. I just think that they were clinical. And these are the things that are going to mess us up, because teams in the Championship, you get let off with chances like that.
Yeah.
In the Premier League, you don't. Ollie Watkins is a seasoned veteran in the Premier League of scoring goals.
Yeah.
That game today, based on especially them last 15 minutes where we were absolutely all at sea, it could have been 5-1. Ollie Watkins with that Trafford save at the end, it could have been 4-1. Zaniolo should have scored. He had about 2 months to put that ball in back at net and didn't. Like, it should have been 5-1. We showed no intent other than the one goal that we did score, which was a brilliant goal, and we'll get on to that. But that was a nothing chance as well. It was floated up to the back stick, and Johan wins an header out of nowhere, and then Lyle does fantastic and scores a goal. But that game, other than that, we showed nothing. And there was nothing clear cut, and there was nothing where you thought, that's brilliant in front of goal. The best thing that I think that we did all day in front of goal was Zeki Amdouni, where he took that little touch and he got past his man and hit ball from about 30 yards, and it was very, very close. That was the one time where I thought, that's what I want. I watched bloody on way home, I watched Newcastle Liverpool. I'm thinking Anthony Gordon played for Everton, and he did exactly the same for Everton. He's bringing the ball. He wants to carry the ball. We have Luca. We have Benson. We have Amdouni. Players that are good on the ball. So when you get the ball and we finally win it back after a high press, turn and go. Why are you turning, playing it into midfield and going back? We've seen this. It's happened before. And like you say with the Brownhill thing, I think that's a fantastic, fantastic point to bring up. If you put Brownhill in that 10 role now, Brownhill's another player that you don't have to teach the system to. No. You don't have to tell him how to play in his role. So if you bring in 8 new faces and say, go out there and play like us last season, well, Vincent Kompany, like everybody wants to say, oh, look at the documentary, it takes him 3 months to click. We don't have that time in the Premier League to click in 3 months. No. We've spent £18 million on Amdouni. We've spent £108 million in total. Some of these players have to hit the ground running in order for the system to work. We can't afford 8 to 10 players having 3 months of a Premier League season to get to mid-November and then us go, oh, it's clicked. There we go. Oh, brilliant now. Because you've had 10 games with no points. Our running now is really difficult as well. So to pick points out from those games it's tough. After that watch today as well, it's hard to have that optimism after the 2. I know we played City and then this game against Aston Villa, but it's hard to look at them games and say that's 3 points. That's 3 points now. Yeah.
What you've just said there, Sam, I think, sorry, Nathan, is probably the biggest concern I've got at the minute is that we know that this is a model now where we're bringing in new players, and we know, as you said, the documentary company says it takes X amount of training sessions, X amount of meetings before they get it. Fine, last year we get that. And we've spoke about this in our chat as well. We need to keep some consistency in that team. It can't be a brand new 11 every summer, because otherwise we're going to have this every year where it's 3 months of the season we can write off while they gel. For me, it should be Muric playing until Trafford's used to the system, because for me, I didn't want to go too harsh on him because obviously I'm a Muric fanboy, blah, 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 I'm biased. But for me, he's a key part of how we play and how that system is. It makes no sense to drop him until Trafford's up to speed and use that system. Trafford's come from League One to the Premier League against City, against Villa, against Spurs next. We need to keep Muric there because he's part of this. The team that got us there in the first place. We need to put, if it's not working out today, bring Brownhill on, bring Cork on, just bring a cool head in that midfield to just, because my worry is that we've got Spurs next, then we've got United and Liverpool, something, and then Newcastle,
United, Chelsea, Newcastle.
I don't want the new lads to get a hammering every week and heads to drop, and then it's difficult to bring them out of that because there's a realistic chance we could lose all them. I'm not trying to be negative. There's a realistic chance we could lose all them, and I just don't want the new lads to be like, oh shit, this is really difficult. Get the experienced lads in who can say, look, it's
But I think that's my biggest point with it though. Like with the Brownhill thing, that comment from before. Like I do get that. Like I'm not some kind of idiot fan who thinks like, oh, 2 games, this is it, it's all over. Like I do know it's been 2 games. We still have 36 games to turn this around, and there is a very, very, very good possibility that.
We've got 36 games, but Villa aren't a team that we're competing with. City aren't a team we're competing with, and our next run of games, other than Forest, aren't teams we're competing with. We'll beat anybody who's around us.
Yeah, well, I had this argument with my dad on the way home. So we're in the car, and my dad was like, "There's a couple of teams that we're just not near." My issue with that is, for years you've had your top 6, right? And your top 6 is always the teams where you go into games and you're like, right, we can very, very easily lose, and if we win, unbelievable. We can talk about it for years. We can say, that's fantastic. We beat Chelsea. We beat Liverpool. They're big wins. Aston Villa are not a top 6 club. They're a good team. They're an established Premier League team, but they are teams that we should, like, why should a team that's just come up then look at team? If we're just playing against the bottom half at Premier League, that means I put us 14th in this prediction video. So that means there's 9 other teams that we're actually competing with, and then 10 other teams at the top of the table. Now we go into games and we go, well, we could lose. Yeah. I personally don't back that notion. I totally see where you're coming from, but like, I can't see us sitting there and saying a game against Aston Villa is one of those situations where you go, like the chap who put the comment on, like, it's fine to say our season's not defined on games against Villa. The narrative of this game against Villa, 2 games into the season, I agree with. 2 games into the season playing Villa, that doesn't define our season. But games against Aston Villa absolutely categorically define our season. If we have performances like that against teams of similar level, that's teams from 8th to 15th, and we have performances like that, there is an issue. And, and there's no point not saying that there isn't an issue if we can't do that. If we can't perform any higher than that against an Aston Villa, that's a worry. Come on. That's a performance you put in against City. That's a performance you put in against Chelsea where you don't expect something and you're sitting behind ball and you don't show anything. Against Villa, you expect a little bit more than that. That's my only thing.
No,
especially at home as well.
Yeah, that's what I was going to bring up. I was saying games like that, Villa and all that, they're not defining our season. It's home games that are defining our season. I think they're going to be where they're going to get a bulk of our points. I'll be very surprised if Company turns it into... Well, I mean, we've not seen us play away from home yet this season. No. So I'll be very surprised if Company turns it into an away team performing, team. Like sometimes it is. Some teams can't play at home because the pressure's too much. They prefer to play away, but I don't see that happening with us. So... No. Like I say, teams like Villa, we should be aiming for a point at least against Villa at home. They should be the ones where we get the 1-1s, the 2-2s, the 0-0s, But I'm not going to jump in too much because, like I say, it's not going to define our season just yet. It's early doors. We're in this. I think Company accepts that these next few the games are like the honking, aren't they? Like even Forest. I'm not looking forward to Forest away because that City ground, man. When that place gets bouncing, it's
rocking, isn't it?
To be.
It's rocking.
Oh my God! And the only bit of concern I do have is if after this run of games we've not won a single game or we've picked up 1 point, it's going to be hard to break that to get that first win. That first win might not come until October, like realistically. So, like you're saying, though, these games. We're not competing against Villa directly, but when they're our patch at Turf Moor, we need to be nicking a point off someone like that. They're our games that will define our season, I think. And if we haven't been nicking them points, that win's just going to get further and further away. Realistically, as it stands now, the only win it might come before October is probably United, the way they're playing at the minute. I know they won it, but sounds a bit daft to say that. But yeah, I think I think someone put a comment, like a bit of a joke on conspiracy. So he's bedding in the new lads now because he knows these games are really difficult. He's getting them in the minutes in because the results necessarily don't matter. But it'll be hurting Vinny, I think, today. It will be. That performance will probably hurt him, and it'll he'll want to sort that out straight away. So it's probably a good thing we're back again on Saturday, quick. We've not got a big gap because that might have thrown us off. So. Anyway, we'll move away from the doom and gloom. We'll move away from the bad. Let's look at the good. Let's pick out the good in this team. I want to give a quick mention to start by Ramsey. Give Ramsey a little shout. I thought he played all right. He came in. He's obviously been with us a good few weeks, so he knows the system a little bit. It would have been a special moment for him to play against Villa, to be honest with you. That's his club, innit? That's his boyhood club. And I thought he did all right. He ran about a bit and he got on the ball where he could, and I think he's going to be an exciting prospect. So to see him early doors was pretty good. Any thoughts on Ramsey? If not, no bother.
Same as you. I think we've got a good player there. I was quite excited when we signed him. I honestly thought we wouldn't see him today. I thought there might be something in his contract about him not playing against Villa or something like that. But no, I think we've got a good player there, and I'm excited about him. Definitely.
Yeah. I want to talk about. We'll go J-Rod. I thought J-Rod had a good cameo. And I heard, as I was walking out the turf, I heard people like, no, he should be back at net there and this, that and the other and stuff. But the bloke's hardly getting a run of games. Like, the bloke's coming in and and he looked our biggest goal threat throughout the whole game, to be honest with you. He came on and he just started having shots here, there and everywhere. We're getting him sail about. He were offside a couple of times. It were, this, that and the other. I thought J-Rod looked all right. And is there a case that maybe J-Rod actually starts against Spurs? You know, is that a thing that we maybe look at? I don't know. I've just literally said what I've thought. I've not thought about what I've said. I've literally just said what I've thought. But is there a case? Because he looked like our best goal threat today. Like that's.
I think he's a good player to have as an interchangeable striker. Yeah. He's a good player to have around. Experienced head as well. I just think he'll help Lyle Foster. But I mean, I'm sure we're going to get on to him in a minute anyway. But he was easily our best player on pitch today. Yeah. Like easily, without a shadow of a doubt, he was best player on pitch. Yeah. Like he ran himself ragged. You know, got stuck into everything. I tell you what, he's strong as well. I mean, I'd love to know what he bench presses because he could knock somebody off a ball. Yeah. And then his goal took his goal so brilliantly. And like I said before, it was a half chance that was not from that.
Yeah.
But I think Jay did all right with what he's got. You know, he's been told to go in at 3-1 in a team that's not creating anything for the strikers really, and said go on and do something. And he's just done what he's always done for Burnley. I always remember the goal that he scored against Chelsea when we were 4-0 down. I just thought, why have you hit that? And then it went in. I was like, oh, that's why, because you're not getting ball in box. You might as well just hit it. He's one of them players to have around the club.
I think they're the type of players though. They sort of bring a bit of extra. It's not just a performance that they put in. They like Gerrard, especially Gerrard. He's a Burnley lad and he's a Burnley fan. Like he'll give you that extra 5% that other lads will never give you. Like even if lads stay for 10 years, they'll just never be able to give you what Jay will give you. And I think I'm happy where the club's going, and I'm happy with the trajectory we're on. I don't want to lose them types of players going for. I don't just want to. You know, I've accepted that we're going to just get a revolving door of players. We're going to get players in, we're going to fall in love with them, they're going to go. We're going to get players in, we're going to fall in love with them. I'm just accepting that. But I also want some players that are going to stick around and that we can fall in love with, and they fall in love with us. And I think having players like Jay in the starting 11 might actually help, not necessarily from a playing point of view, but just to G other lads up, you know, and it's not quite going right, or when the turf's turned against them, because it happens sometimes, you know, we can get on the backs of players. I see it quite a few times. It does happen, you know, and like, is Jay a valuable asset? Yeah, I think he is. Have we got better players? Absolutely we have, but he offers that's something different that some other players can, so...
That's what I mean, mate. About we've got to keep that spine. We can have this. We know the model. We know that players are coming in and then they're going again for profit. We know that's what's going to happen, and we're fine with that. But you do need to keep that spine. We need to keep a core of players for 2-3 seasons who can help bed the new lads in, who can talk them how it is. This is how it's done here. Because at the minute we're going to have new players every summer. No one knows how things are at the club, and we need someone like Jay who's been here X number of years, Cork who's been here X number of years, and said, this is how we do it here, this is what we're doing in this situation, you know, and rein players in or whatever it might be. We need to keep that, and Jay will be good for that. And I don't think he necessarily starts in the Premier League. We maybe start him in the Carabao and see how he does. Because it's against Premier League opposition, and then bring him in if he looks like he's got 90 minutes in him, because I sometimes think with Jay, he runs out of steam a little bit. Like he'll start the season and it gets towards the end and he just looks knackered.
That's
so
just the age of a minute, really.
I think, you know, having players like that in your club is such a big thing. Like if you go through every Premier League team, they've got experienced players. Like Man United have Johnny Evans, Man City have Scott Carson. Like these are people that you think they'll never touch the pitch ever. But they're a voice. There's someone there who's 20 years old, who's an arrogant little you-know-what, and comes in his you know, Vivian Westwood engraved bloody Bentley, and he gets himself into the training ground with his Gucci bag and all that stuff, and Johnny Evans will just go, shut up, like, what are you doing? It's the same with us. Like, you know, we've got new players, we're going for a younger field, so we need people that ground these younger players. That's why, like the comment before, Brownhill, Cork, you know, Rodriguez, we've lost Barnes, we've lost Loughton, you know, we've lost a couple of those types of players, so it's counterproductive to just get rid of everybody that's old or old by football terms, and say, oh, we've saved 25 grand's worth of wages. Brilliant. We'll go put an extra 10k on Mike Trezor's contract or something like that. Do you know what I mean? And I just think, like, yes, you can do that, but then you're also losing an experienced head in the dressing room, a voice, somebody who works closer with the manager because they're closer in age. A little kid who's 21 years old He's not going to walk up to company's front door and go, right, I think we should be playing 4-3-3, don't you? Because company will tell you to shut up. Whereas if you've got a bit of Premier League experience behind you, he'll turn around, he'll listen to you, he'll work with you, and he'll tell you, okay, you pass this message down.
Yeah.
Having social groups is such a big thing in football as well. I've said it before and I'll say it again. If Brownhill was to not be part of this, he's on every training video, he's on every PR video that the club does. He's always talking, always chatting, always happy, and he loves Burnley and he likes the club and he does things in the community. You lose a player like that, it has a bigger effect than people think.
You see, this is why I thought Barnes might stay around. I know he won't get anywhere near the pitch. But last season we saw it on the pitch. He was like an on-field coach for those lads. Yeah, and I think that's what we're missing a little bit is someone to be company on the pitch because he can't cross that touchline. So we need someone to be him on the pitch, and it's players like Court, like Barnes, that we need, and we need to keep them around. Definitely.
I agree. Players like as we're talking about them, I'll quickly jump onto Goodmanson because I actually thought. Like I said in previous, I thought I saw that change coming up 30 minutes. I thought we need Benson off. He's not in this game whatsoever. He's just not getting anything out of this. There was so much space loitering around for Goodmanson in them little pockets in between sort of the left back and centre off that Benson just wasn't picking up for some reason. And I were itching. I was saying to the bloke next to me, it's like, you need Goodmanson. We need him on. He can find them pockets of space. Literally came on, first touch of the ball, heads it back down for Lau Foster and he scores, you know what I mean? And I thought Goodmanson was class. And I hope he's pushing for a start, to be honest. I hope Goodmanson goes to company over this week and says, come on, let's have a go. Like Benson still isn't, for me, a starter. And that sounds ridiculous. If you just isolate that statement, Benson is the starter, it sounds obscene, but he's not. He's an impact player. Like,
no, I know what you mean.
He's one of them amazing players that he's just got if he's got something to prove, I think that's what it is. If he's got something to prove that says I should be on bench, I should be starting this, I'm going to prove to you why I should be starting. He'll come on and he'll bag you a goal. If he's starting, I don't think he gets into games quick enough. No, he can't be carrying players like that. What do you think, Neil?
No, I agree with that. I think he's an impact. It does sound harsh because he's a phenomenal player and he's got a good. Well, he's got a world-class strike on him, hasn't he? But no, he's the same. He's like what Solskjaer used to be for Man United. And if you start him, he's no good. But if you bring him on, he'll bag. And definitely that. I think he reads the game very well, and he's good to bring on when defenses are tired. Yeah. Especially the fullbacks who he can just put on the floor and then swing one in. Yeah, I thought he was quiet today, but equally he didn't have a lot that he could distribute the ball to. He was sort of isolated on his own a little bit, wasn't he? But I agree. I don't think. And also, I'm not sure how fit he is. He doesn't seem fit.
Yeah, I did think that. Well, I
don't know if he's got a long-term thing or something, but he doesn't look as sharp to me.
Yeah, we'll caveat all that, like say what you said, that I don't think the forward players got the service they deserve today. Like, they were sort of just plucking at the bones of a chicken, roast chicken, weren't they? Just getting all little scraps that they could get here and there. But yeah, I think I would prefer to see Benson coming off with 30 minutes. If Benson comes on when we go 2-1, I think that changes the game a little bit. If we have a fresh Benson that comes on while we're in the ascendancy, to go out and I think that does change the game a little bit. Obviously, hindsight's a wonderful thing, and we'd all be millionaires if we had that. But I think he would have been better to come on in that situation, get the goal back in, and whatnot. But I thought, back to Goodmanson, I thought he was good. I thought he's still proved that he's got a massive part in this team. He's got a key. He's a key player. I think he's one of the key players from the old guard, as it were, in this team. And we need to start utilising him a little bit more. Any thoughts on Goodmanson, Sam, before we move on?
Yeah, I think he played really, really well. I think when he came on, he showed what I've said about him for years. He's a technical player, and technical players do good things on a football pitch. If you don't have pace about you and you don't have, you're not gifted with the ability to take a man on and beat him left, right, and centre. Yeah. But you have the ability to dink a ball in behind and it land flush at a right back's feet. You've got a place on a football pitch, and I think Goodmanson has always had that. I think to touch on the point like you said, the attacking side of the game just wasn't there for us today, and I think that was where we struggled. Mostly, I think defensively were just momentary lapses in judgment, but I do think that the fact that we didn't go forward. Do you know what was really weird as well? I think the fact that we started the game with what we would have said was what we wanted from the wings. We wanted Benson, we wanted Kolasholo, we wanted Amdouni, and we wanted Lyle Foster. That's the front four that we wanted, and that four didn't end the game other than Amdouni did come off.
No, they both got hit. Game.
Yeah, like basically that entire front four came off. And because that entire front four came off, when the players did come on, and this is no slight on any of those players, but I never thought like these are subs that are going to change like the course of this game. Like we were 3-1 down, we didn't create anything when we had our more creative players on the pitch, and then when we brought the lesser creative players on, like I just thought we really struggled to get anything going attacking wise. And then there was Goodmanson who just jumped up for that header, which he had no right in winning. Like I say, it was a half chance, that goal, that where the goal came from. You know, it was a lump ball into the box, and he wins an header that he's got no right to win.
Yeah.
And then obviously Lyle Foster finished it off. But it's a weird one because you don't want to bash the attacking players because
you don't.
But at the same time, like
we also need our attacking players to step up and take some take some onus of what
it's not the result, it's the performance. And I think that's the point that we need to try and highlight. It's not losing 3-1 at home to Villa, it's how badly we lost 3-1 at home to Villa. Like that's
what I'm most disappointed with. I think that's what I said at the start. That's the most gutting thing for me is that we've gone backwards rather than progressed from the last game. I feel, and I thought City gave us a feeling that we might be all right here, and then after today, you start thinking, I don't know, I'm not so sure. But game 2, I'm sure, and it will click. But I mean, it's interesting. We've mentioned Brownhill and stuff like that, but for me, why is Ekdal not getting a look in? Because last year, phenomenal. Everyone's, is one of our best centre halves with Bayer. We know Bayer's injured, but Ekdal is nowhere to be seen at the minute. And for me, he's crying out for him there. But
it's a strange one. Before we drift off into negative Nellies again, let's talk about our South African shining star.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Lyle Foster. What a man. Like, I know we've lost 3-1 today, but I've not watched a player like Lyle Foster like that makes me smile like he does. He just looks happy when he's playing football. Like, he genuinely looks really frigging happy when he's just in the trenches. Like, he's not, I don't want to call him a sexy footballer, but I know he's got it in the locker to be one, but he just loves being in the trenches. He were playing centre-half at one point. He were, smashing into centre-halves at corner flags. Like, he were throwing, he were winning balls in the air. It reminded me of Sam Vokes. Like, you watch Sam Vokes, he'd jump in the air and you go, he's going to head that. Oh, no, he hasn't. He's chested it down. How's he done that? Like, he was just winning everything. Like, Lyle Foster, for me, where he was like the silver lining on this pretty crap game today for us, I thought. And if we can start utilising him a little bit more, giving him a bit more, a few more sniffs in front of goal, like, he's going to just kick on. And I am really, really, really glad he's got his goal today. Because
he deserved it. He deserved it.
He needed it quickly. Yeah, he did.
He looks happy. He looks confident. And he took his goal. He was so strong to bring that ball down and turn. He's got no right to score that.
Not only the ball's come down, he's not only pinned the centre half, he's then had the ability to, while he's pinned the centre half, manoeuvre the centre half out of the way and then get his shot off as well. And I thought he were class. And that goal and that performance from him sort of deserved a bit of a comeback, I thought. If there's one player that can come off that pitch a bit disappointed, it was Lyle Foster. You know what I mean? I thought I thought he did enough to at least deserve something. And his fitness levels were good, his awareness was good, his positioning was good. Like, I feel sort of bad for sort of bagging on him a little bit when he signed, and it cuts back to the documentary where there's the scene in there where all the ALK board and investors are like, "You've signed Foster, why have you not used him?" And he's like, company's gone, whoa, hold on, it'll come, it'll happen. And here it is. Like, he's got his moment in the Prem. He's flourishing, and he's loving life. And it's only been 2 games, so Go on, Sam. Give us your thoughts on Foster. So I know you weren't the biggest fan at the beginning.
No. Listen, I 100% stand by what I said last season. Last season, he didn't show enough.
He was bobbing.
This isn't the same Foster we saw. No. This is my point. Like, we also said this at the end of the season when we did the end of season review. Like, He's the player that we wanted to see kick on, who is going to give us a season where this is now the make or break for him. You've had pre-season, you've had the 3 months that company talks about, you've had the training sessions, fit the system, played the games now, go out and do it. And he's taking his opportunity, you know, like a real pro. And I think he genuinely needs or deserves all the adulation that he's going to get from this, because and like you say, in a field of weeds, there was a rose today, and that young man deserves all the plaudits. That goal was fantastic. His tenacity in tackles, his ability to bring the ball down when he had no right to, his ability to shove centre halves out of the way. He was the player that can come off the pitch today with his head held high and say, you know what, I really genuinely left it all on the pitch today. And I think a lot of the players will be looking at that and thinking, I need to do that next, because I think a lot of them will come off today thinking, I didn't do enough today.
I think we need to get players around him more as well. Like I think like you're almost gonna have one of our lads sort of like shadow Foster around the pitch just to pick up anything that he gets, because he's gonna be in there fighting, digging in. Like Foster might not get us the goals, but he'll get us into positions where you go, oh, he's no right to win that ball, but he has. You know, like, and I think, you know, I get ahead. You know, look at to the next couple of games that we've got. They're going to be tough, but the games after that, we're going to be playing against teams that are down there with us. And I think Foster might actually have a bit of a field day. Like, you look at Everton at the minute, they are in an absolute mess defensively. Like, that's not, you know, and I don't want to keep talking about Everton, but like, that's the calibre of team that we need to be competing against. And I think Foster will have a field day against someone like that. I think he'll have a good game against like teams like Fulham that seem a bit lighter at the centre of. You know, I think he'll, you know, potentially, and probably Sheffield United fans are probably going to clip me up for this, but I think he will have a good time against like Sheffield United at the moment. I don't think, you know, he's going to be that difference that we didn't have. We didn't need it last year, but he's going to give us that we have. You know, we will need this year. We need a bit of grit going forward. So I think, I mean, I'm probably being presumptuous, but all round, I'm guessing we're saying man of the match shouts. It's Lyle Foster.
Yeah. Oh, without a shadow of doubt, yeah. Foster, yeah. Deservedly,
no-brainer. Deserved it. Got the goal. Performance. Absolutely smashed it again, and long may it continue. If he keeps shining like that, then I think he's going to have a really good season.
I like the point that you make about him having players around him. I feel like there was a lot of balls over the top today. Like I saw it twice with Sander Berge in the first half. That's the point that I've wrote down. I haven't even looked at my notes. Sander Berge got the ball over the top twice in the first half, and he chested it down, and then he doesn't have the pace or the attacking intent, because it's not in his game. Like it just isn't. Like he's never been a fantastic goal scorer. So him getting through, you kind of like, yes, oh, it's Berge. But if that was Lyle Foster, you'd be like, this is fantastic. I think that was one of our biggest things today, though. Like he's a player that can bring the ball down and hold it. Like I know it's a completely different team, and it's now I'm going to say it out loud anyway, but now I'm saying it sounds really stupid. But like in that Newcastle game today, the attackers won, the defenders won. They all go forward, they all come back. It felt like today we all went forward, but we didn't really go forward. And then when we lost the ball, we had nobody back, and then you were like, we were just scrambling all the time, getting hit on the counter attack left, right, and centre. So I agree with that. I think he should be the focal point, and if we can get him the ball and hold it, he should be playing it to Amdouni and then out wide, and then them two are sprinting into the box with Berge making a late run, and then you can get the ball across the byline. I think that's how we've played all last season, and I think that's how we should be trying to play this season. I just feel like you say, it was kind of like Foster and then everyone kind of on the periphery. So I totally agree with that.
Yeah, no, closing points on 20 seconds each, closing points on the game. I'll start. Disappointed. Foster shining light. It's not the end of the season. It's 2 games in, plenty to go on, but that performance raises a few eyebrows. If we can nip that in the bud, we're all right. Sam?
Disappointed. Hard to look for positives. Foster being a big positive is the thing that I'm trying to cling to. And then the only thing is, like, the early alarm bells are there in the distance, and we'd be stupid as not stupid. That's weird. We'd be. I can't think of the word. I don't want to be rude, so I can't think of the word. But we'd be kind of silly to pretend that we don't see them. is my only thing. But like you say, 2 games in, we'll crack on.
Yep, that was 29 seconds, but who's counting? It's Neil.
I was close.
For me, I'm not disappointed with the result. It's the performance, as we've said already. It looked like a bit of a regression. But I think what we're seeing is just a team that has played 2 games compared to others. And we're also, although company knows how fit you've got to be in the Premier League, our players probably aren't, because we've had a year of Championship football and we just need a bit more time and a few more games to get that rhythm, to get that fitness up, to match the likes of Villa and the teams around us. Villa aren't our competition. I know what you're saying, Sam, that you can't write those games off and we should give them a game. I'd be more worried if that performance came against someone like Sheffield United or against Fulham. I'm not so much worried at the minute. The thing I'm gutted about is that it's some of our older heads who perhaps didn't perform, and some of our older heads who aren't getting a look in at the minute, and I think they probably should. But big up Foster. I'm proud of the lad. I'm proud of him.
Yeah, proud. He's good. Yeah, I think to add as well, I think like what you were saying, I think it's going to click. Like you can see, it's trying. You know what I mean? Like companies outlined this. He's made it public that he need. You know, it takes X amount of hours to sort of. He can predict exactly where his teams are going to start clicking, and there's moments where in the game where we were short, snappy. The first 10, 15 minutes that second half, we were brilliant, like actually brilliant, like really, and you can think, oh god, if this just clicks from minute 1 in a game. You know, you can pretty much wrap a game up in 20 minutes. So I think the outcry from me personally, and probably like Turf Guy, is just for the fans, just patience. Just let it, it's all right. Like these next 5 games are gonna be crap because we're playing against some really difficult teams. They're gonna be crap. We might scrape a win, we might scrape a draw. Let's just keep getting behind the lads. We can criticise individual performances and one-off game performances, but the overarching thing is just. I think company's got it in hand, and when this clicks, I think it's really going to click. You know, there's still a good few days of the transfer window left, which moves me on to the last couple of points that I wanted to make before we wrap things up, which was that Mike Trezor, we've put an offer in for a loan from Genk, so that looks like it's probably going to go ahead. Now, personal terms have probably already been sorted because company's probably been ringing him up every night for the past 4 weeks. But that'll be a good addition. I'll jump to you, Sam, because I know you're a massive Mike Trezor fan. What will he bring to us if this all goes through?
It's you know, when you look at statistics, like statistics don't define a footballer, but you have to be a very good footballer to be in a table of, you know, be within the top 5 players in the entirety of Europe for goals and assists last season and playing in the Belgian league. Like, you know, you have to be some player to be able to do that. I think he got like 44 goals and assists collectively all season. And that's someone coming off the left wing, which I think if we can bring a player in with that and he comes in with that confidence of, I've just had a 44 goal and assist season behind me, like you're paying me money, you're paying me a Premier League wage. He's the type of player where I would expect to come in and hit the ground running, kind of like how a Cornet did. Like when we signed Cornet came in with this kind of like, I'm the man, I'm going to be this player for you and I'm going to score you these fantastic goals. And I think that's what Trezor will do. I think we need somebody as well who's just going to unlock the defence, because I felt like a lot of today, there wasn't a lot of ownership from individuals carrying the ball, really taking it to the defender. I think Benson's got all that ability in the world. I think Trezor is the type of player who will do that. He'll get it and he'll just go, do you know what, I'm off. Like,
good. That's what we want. Yeah, that's what we want. There's another, not rumour, but what I've heard and been told off a couple of different people is we are aiming to get 3 or 4 more in before the end of the transfer window. Now that is in, is it 6 days?
Yeah.
5 days?
It's like, on Thursday night, isn't it?
Yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of chaos this week. Just across the board, I think there's going to be a lot of chaos because we've seen players now play for their teams, and I think some players will want to move, some players, and I think we'll start figuring out who's available for loan and who isn't. We've still got to use our 2 Premier League loans yet. So
whilst you mentioned that, can I say that I pray to God one of them's Maatsen. I really do, because we know Chelsea are trying to get him off. I don't know if they want him permanent or whatever, but let's move on from Teller because that dream's died now. So let's go and get Maatsen.
Yeah, the last update on Teller that I read and got given was that Chelsea trying to tie him down to a long-term contract before allowing him to leave on loan. He's allowed to go on loan, but they just want to tie him down again to another contract, which they don't want to lose him for free at the end. I would personally just rather go in and just pay over the odds a little bit for him, because if he has a even if he has a mediocre season, he's still a very good footballer, that lad. And
Absolutely.
He didn't look
give
out
him a
of place
buyback.
give him Chelsea
on
buyback option.
Yeah.
They can have first dibs on him. I think we need to. And after today's show, and I know it keeps getting mentioned, like every fifth comment is left back, left back, left back, left back. Like, let's just get him in. Like you said, Sam, he knows the system. He doesn't need the 140 hours that whatever company requires. Like, he can arrive tomorrow and he can train Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and be absolutely bang on the money for Saturday, ready to go.
Yeah.
So.
And I think we need it.
Yeah, I agree.
We need it. We need players that are just going to hit the ground running like that. That's one of my biggest things with this. To kind of round it off, like from my perspective, is like, I agree with you. 2 games into the season, like you're not saying that it's over, but you'd be a fool to look past certain situations and performances. But my biggest thing with that is, just because you have a negative opinion towards a 90 minutes of football doesn't mean you don't back the manager, doesn't mean you don't back the system, and doesn't mean that you're not still following the team completely along for the ride. It just means that it's all about being a football fan. You have a different opinion on different positions, and we bring in a left back. I think we're crushed it.
You were messaging VK out half time. Don't know what I'm talking about.
Me? Well,
No, Ray, I think we'll wrap it up there. I think, lads, we've had a good old chat about that. Without our gracious leader Joe, who's decided to palm us off today. So hope you
don't like us anymore. He only goes on Sky Sports.
Hope your feet up.
If it's not Sky Sports, he's not interested.
Exactly, yeah. So Joe, if you are listening, which I doubt you will be, but I hope you got your feet up and you've got a beer in your hand and you've had a lovely night without us. Cheers for coming on, Neil and Sam. I really do appreciate it for giving up your bank holiday Sundays. I know you've got a young little one. How's she doing? Is she all okay?
I think we're on the start of a kickoff, so it's good time.
Lovely. Yeah. Do you want to stay on a bit longer? All right.
Yeah, let's bring something up. What can we talk about? Legos. Let's do it.
Nice one. Yeah, so thanks for all the people watching. We've had really good numbers tonight for a bank holiday Sunday, so I appreciate that. So yeah, make sure you give us a subscribe if you're not already. Jump on Twitter and keep an eye out. We'll keep you all updated as much as we can on the next 5 days of the transfers, because I know it's going to be quite chaotic, so we'll get as much news as we can to you. We'll react as much as we can to you, and we'll have some content going out for Saturday against Tottenham. I know we've got a Tottenham pod lined up. We'll do a bit of a preview looking at that. Yeah, it's all go now. Premier League's back in full swing now, I think. No gaps, and here's to another one, eh? Cheers, lads.
So much fun.
Can't wait.
I can't wait.
Good evening, everyone. Have a good night.